Paltrocast.
First question I have for you is interview at 9 a.m. Most artists don't want to do an interview at 9 a.m. Have you always been a morning person?
Okay, yeah. So there is two reasons for this. It's because I'm more a label manager now than a singer. And also I got a 3-year-old baby. And basically 9 a.m. is already half of my morning, I would say.
Good for you. I don't have that in me. But
she's waking up around 5:30. So for me, 9 is like so much happened already at 9.
Well, congratulations on getting your new EP released about a week and a half ago, I believe it was.
Yeah, exactly.
And you were able to keep it kind of a secret that it was coming out January 15th. How long had it been finished for before you released it?
Well, basically this EP is the volume 2 of like two actual small EP I did, and some sessions was the same from the volume 1 and volume 2. I did the volume 1. I released the volume 1 year ago exactly. So and then we finished this volume 2 in this year. And so that's why it was like a project I wanted to separate, because there is like the volume 1 was 4 songs in French, and then the volume 2 was 4 songs in English, and it's all artists that I work with as a manager and label manager. But yeah, it was interesting for me to do like 2 volumes.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're the founder and owner of a record label. You've worked in management. You yourself have been in bands and all that. And you're kind of used to telling people, well, you kind of need a single. Or, hey, this needs to change about your album. Did you have anyone doing that to you for this series of EPs?
Oh, yes. So it's a good question, because, you know, in France, in France, we have an expression who said, cordonnier mal chaussé, which means basically like it's like if the doctor is never like helping himself, you know what I mean? Sure. Like he's bad with himself. And it's a bit the same for me. Like I was always pushing my project from the schedule of releasing every other artist. And I was like, oh, okay, no, so it's okay with my EP. We can release it like in 3 months. And then, oh no, in 6 months. And so my team says, no, we need to work on this as like every other's release. And I was like, yeah, okay. But I was not the right one to push my own project. So I asked Alice, which is my colleague. She was the first person who worked with me at Lisbon Lux. She said, can you manage this release for me? and I was obliged to answer questions and like in time and stuff, because she was in charge, which was better, I think.
And this is volume 2 of the Adaptation series. Is this a series that you just want to do for years and years? Can there be Adaptation 17?
No, I don't think so, because, okay, so this, so basically to go back in my past, so I used to be a musician first in France until 2005, 2006. And then I moved to Montreal in Canada. And I was more like, you know, I had some very different experiences in music because it was related to life experience. So at one point when I was 18, I was playing in a ska reggae band. But then I was very involved in this band. And then we toured for like 6 years. We did like 1,000 shows. And then it was not my first genre of music, but because I love those guys and because I had fun with this experience, then I went to this like 100%. And then I did many different genres in my life, and I think my approach of music is like, when I don't understand a genre, I'm going like deep inside, and then when I understand, it's time to move on something else. You know what I mean? Wow. Like, yeah. I remember when I was such a huge fan of Radiohead. I know you interviewed like Ed O'Brien.
Oh, wow. You did your research. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interview Ed.
No, I love you. I love the show, actually, man. And also I love your introduction.
Oh, thank you.
Who signed the music?
That's the singer of a band called Longwave. Steve Schiltz. He's also been known as Hurricane Bells. He toured with the Strokes and all these big bands.
Nice. It's
He had an
great.
instrumental. My wife jokingly started singing my name to it, and wrote some lyrics, and here we are. But
I could sign this track.
I'll tell Steve you said
no,
so.
because you know, it sounds exactly like how I grew up with like all this I don't know, like DFA vibe and OK Go and you know all those stuff. Very like lo-fi disco. I loved it. When I heard the introduction, I was like, okay, that's for me, this show.
That's so nice of you to say, but so interesting what you're saying, that the way that you are, you kind of realize, I don't know anything about this. You learn as much as you can, and then you go, okay, next thing I'm going to learn. You're kind of a seeker.
Yeah, and I think it's the same in the music business and stuff. It's always like, I was so impressed by festivals when I was young. And then I decided to work, you know, like backstage to understand everything and like the timing and the sound and everything. And now there is no secret for me anymore. And now I'm looking for something else. So yeah, and it was the same when I became such a fan of Radiohead when I was like 14, and in part because I needed to understand the sound, you know, the production and how this guitar can sound like this and this drum and what is this electronic sound. And so I jumped deep in Radiohead, and then at one point I knew every new releases. I was like, I know this sound. I know how they did this. Okay, it's time to move on. So, and this experience with the volume 2 and volume 1 was very like against my, I would say my primary desires, because I'm more like a guy of arrangement. I love Air, the French band. I love Beck, and I love Radiohead, and I love like, you know, bands with like full of arrangement. Mm-hmm. But then when I got my baby, I was starting to sing those songs from my artist when she was sleeping, you know. And at one point I say, oh, wow, it would be like a nice challenge for me to try to do a record without any arrangement, like less as possible, like no backing vocals, no strings, no, you know, something very, very minimal. And it was a bit of an exercise for me, I have to say. But when I met the pianist, Alexis, mm-hmm. This guy is such a genius. Like I like to say he's our local Gonzalez, you know, because he's as a genius as Gonzalez, I think. And so when I shared the songs and he sent me back the arrangement at piano solo, I was like, oh man, I'm obliged to do a nice record with this guy. I need to sing. And so and sometimes Alexis was proposing like, oh, we could do like maybe like 4 pianos, or maybe you could sing these notes and these notes. And I said, no, man, I want something like with no temporal traces. You know what I mean? Like sure. I want to be able to listen to this album in like 20 years, but because it's piano and singing, it's going to be the same, you know? Yeah. There is no like 80s influence or 90s, or it's just like something so simple that, and my goal also was like be able to share this album with my grandma and say, I'm sure you're going to love these songs, even if you might not like the original one. Right. Because, you know, the originals are more like temporal, I would say. Like Radiant Baby, Save Me For Myself is a 80s song. With like some specific production, and my grandma is not a fan of this sound, you know. Yeah. But as a E&R, I knew that this song has more than just the arrangement of like a cool, hip, you know, sound. It was more like this guy wrote an actual really nice song, and I want to show it another way, and so, you know, it's also linked with the fact that as an A&R, when I receive demos, it usually sounds very bad, right? All the demos, sometimes it's like awful, and like the public would not be ready to listen to this and like this. Yes. So yes. The job of an A&R and a label is to find those songs and then help the artist to go to this final result, I would say, final product, even if artists don't like this this term of like saying it's a product, but it's true. Like we are helping something from the concept and the idea of something recorded on GarageBand. And then we go to a long process of like creating something in studio and helping him. And at the end of the day, the song is supposed to be playing on radio, we hope.
Yeah.
And then a large public could love it, you know? So yeah, I think it was for me the way to show that the first time I heard Save Me From Myself, it was a very bad version of Radiant Baby, just because he did it like, you know, super like quickly at home. Mm-hmm. But then I already heard this amazing song from start.
You're so good at this that you actually answered my next 3 questions, because I asked you about Save Me From Myself. But I'm curious, now that you're talking about A&R, the artists that you were talking about, Radiohead and Air, they both have some commonalities. They both worked with Nigel Godrich. They both had Jason Faulkner in some way do stuff with them. But I'm curious, do you have heroes as an A&R person?
Good question. Well, you know, I don't know who was the A&R at DFA Records, but for me, DFA was a huge influence in my life, because I think I would not say I'm a fan of certain A&R, but I'm a fan of certain indie label for sure. And like in France, we also have this label called Record Makers. Mm-hmm. And it's the label of Sébastien Tellier and Kavinsky. And they used to be, Air used to be part of this label at the very beginning, because they released the soundtrack of Virgin Suicide.
Yes, great.
But then the guy from Air left the label. But the reason why we called Lisbon Lux, it's because Lux Lisbon is the name of Kirsten Dunst in Virgin Suicide.
Oh, that's right. Yes, she's Lux in the movie. I didn't make that connection.
And so when I created the label, I actually co-found the label with a guy from Le Couleur, which I managed to. And he's not involved in the label anymore, but he's my best friend and I still manage his band and stuff. But when we created the label, the idea was to find a reference to Air, but not too easy, like not like a name of the song, you know. It was too easy to call the label Sexy Boy so we decided to go through like something like one of the soundtrack, and we found this name Lux Lisbon Lux, and I loved it, and I was like, okay, that's the reference. So we have this stamp, this Air stamp on the label forever. And I have to say, we started with a lot of electronic stuff, but right now I think there is some new signatures that they're gonna sound a little bit more like acoustic, like the Virgin Suicide way.
I really look forward to hearing that. That is, if there was a band to be influenced by that would not be embarrassing, I think it would be Air. Like, there's very few bands that how could you not like Air? Like, okay, it's well orchestrated. There's melodies. It's smart. The people behind it didn't do anything wrong that we know about publicly. So
yeah, no, and it's true. I think it's the same for Radiohead. At one point, people, they were like crazy about those bands, and then it's cool to say bad things about them at one point. Yeah. Like I remember when Radiohead, like all journalists at one point, they just switched to, Radiohead is bad. And I'm like, yeah, but no. Like they're still doing like great stuff, even if it's not the new fashion maybe, but you know that Radiohead will never ever like release an album like Coldplay. Never. because they don't do albums for the same reasons, you know.
That's a very good point.
Coldplay right now, what they try to do is to be in the top 100 and radios, and the only way is to do like featuring with like Beyonce and a rapper. Because like pop music, like they can't reach like the top 100 anymore. So they're obliged to mix their music with like the new sound every years. And so it's a total other approach. Like Radiohead, I remember when they released the In Rainbows.
Yeah.
I mean, In Rainbows was their like, I think like a 9th album. And it was so good. Like who's releasing 9 albums with the quality of In Rainbows when it's like close to the 10th album? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one thing that I don't know about Radiohead that I'm wondering if you know is, did A&R ever play a role in Radiohead, or did they just have creative control outright where Tom York went, here are the songs, we're doing these songs, end of story?
Well, I don't know that much, but I know some stuff like Creep. The band was not agreed to release Creep as a single. I know the team at the time at Parlophone, they insist like, and they say, no, it's going to be the single. That's it. And it changed their life. And I think they're even more rich because of this today. So
yeah.
So yeah, it's true. Like the Tom York didn't want to play the song for years during the shows, like for 10 years.
Yeah.
They refused to play the song, but they're still playing this song on radio like every fucking day for the next, like, I don't know, 30 years. So yeah, so sometimes, you know, A&R are not just bad people.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And oftentimes, if you look at the great A&R people, you'll find that they signed 5 or 6 artists you love, not just one. So they had the ears that maybe the producers did, but they're the people in the background that the average person doesn't know what an A&R person is, what A&R stands for, and the secret, and it just never gets passed on.
Well, how I see this is like they're supposed to be like people who can discover an artist before everybody else and see the potential of someone, even if the artist is not there yet.
Yes.
And see, okay, I can see you. And it's basically my approach, you know, as we are a very small label. I mean, we are 4 working in an indie label. So I don't pretend to be like an amazing A&R, but I know what I'm doing. And I think that's my approach. It's more like a restaurant, like a local restaurant. If you like one meal, you're gonna love the restaurant.
Well,
but if it's not your style, if you don't like my food, then maybe you will not like the rest of the food in the restaurant. So, but if you like it, you will come back for sure. And it's so, for me, it's super grateful, you know, because recently, so we signed French music also, you know, we are in Montreal, and Montreal is a bilingual city. And I really felt in love when I moved here, and I felt in love with this bilingual situation, because I used to love like English for different reasons in France, but also I have this French use every day, which I love. And what I'm trying to do right now with Lisbon Lux is like to push those French artists, Montreal French artists, to the rest of the world. And it's going very well right now. And I think it's because of the new digital world also. Like Le Couleur, we have a great reception in the US and South America right now. And it was not possible like 20 years ago. Like 20 years ago, you needed to be in a major to do this.
Yeah.
But because of the digital world, I think now it's amazing how we have like orders of Le Couleur all over the world, like from Tokyo to Arabi, Saudi, and Mexico, and like everywhere, like Sweden. And it's French music. So I really like this, and I think it's my principal target with with Lisbon Lux is to say like we can produce music in English or French or instrumental, and we find fans all over the world. Which I really appreciate recently is there is a guy in West Canada. Mm-hmm. He ordered 1 vinyl of Paupières, which is another band I work with. And then I was sending, like every time I was writing to him, hey, thank you for your order. And we were discussing about conditions. And then I say, hey, maybe you should listen to Brunswick or maybe Le Couleur. Every time I sent an email, every time he ordered the vinyl right after of this artist and the new artist. And he said, you know, I'm just discovering the whole label and I'm such a fan and I'm so happy that you answered. And so, you know, so this guy is coming back to the restaurant.
That's a great analogy right there about the restaurant and all that. So I've 2 quick questions and then you're a free man. You can get on with your day. And the first one is, do you think we'll see an Adaptation Volume 3 before the end of 2021?
I'm sure not. But I think my next project would be maybe an instrumental full arrangement thing.
Okay.
I want to find time to create again, but it might be very different from those volume 1 and 2.
Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next to you. And the next and final question, what should we be watching on TV that you're currently a fan of?
Ooh, I just started The Honor, which seems pretty good. I think 2020, I think I just wanted to watch again the new season of Twin Peaks. Because it would be so amazing that this new season would be released on 2020, just because the year was so weird in so many ways that I was like, okay, I need something even weird than the year. And I jump back to this Twin Peaks new season because I'm a fan of David Lynch. And also I needed something even crazier than 2020.
Good taste, man. You have good taste as a TV consumer, good taste as a musician, good taste as a label guy. So
maybe same taste. Maybe same taste.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, Julien, and have a great rest of the day, and looking forward to seeing what comes next from you.
Thank you very much, Darren. Bye.
Thanks. Have a great rest of the day, man. Take care.
Paltrocast.